Hi, folks. Up from about the time that Christianity spread in Britain until the Puritan Revolution by Oliver Cromwell, following which, for one generation, the Puritans didn't celebrate anything at all, England celebrated May Day. And before this, well, this very secular May Day celebration had its roots in an older traditional celebration called Beltane. So, this is just a little bit of a, well, look at history for the pure fun of it on this holiday. Now, pre-Christian Britain included quite a number of religions, and we know mixed amounts about them, and scholars can tell us about Celtic religions, and then there's a variety of Germanic ones, and someone got the not very accurate notion that there was some single pervasive North with European or Germanic religion at one point, and we think that's pretty well wrong, and instead we find varieties with some things in common because when you're in the temperate zone, you pay attention to the climate. And these religions had animist elements, that is, were often tied to nature and worshiping local nature spirits and things like that. And at the roots of these things, we have Stonehenge and Avebury and bunches of other things. Now, we do know, since these did have of this concern with seasons and so forth, like many of these older religions, that yes, seasonal celebrations were a big deal. We know about these old religions and the attention they gave to the equinoxes and solstices. One can pull out Ronald Hutton's Stations of the Sun and read about all of these old religions in terms of the holidays that they gave to Britain and thereby the English-speaking world. So, attention to the equinoxes and solstices, but also to the midpoints between what we would call cross-quarter holidays because they seem to have seasonal significance. And two of these, well, we still know about them to say the least, give attention to them. Samhain, well, it gets all sorts of bizarre press of various sorts. Now, it's not related to worship of some demon or something like that, but it is about endings, death, and so forth, because seasonally, that's what you get at the end of October. Uh, yeah, this is the time you call the herds for the winter, the time when the fields are all bleak and black, and all of the rest of those things. So, this season of endings, and it carried over into various Christian traditions with All Souls Day and the like. And then on the other side, directly across from that on the calendar, around May 1st, Beltane, or we would go to May Day, which is the time of beginnings. Yes, the time when you plant, the time the flowers are blooming, the world is new and renewed and it's beautiful. It's the time of birth, this contrasting one, and it was celebrated, again, not with the heavy religious connotations because Christians did other things in the spring. Easter, which has real reason for its timing there, and such as that. Then there is, yes, that leaves, this very secular notion of May Day. Now, with these two dates, Samhain and Beltane, By old tradition, the veil between the worlds was thinnest. See it with ghosts and haunting and spooky things for our Halloween. But the other end of that calendar, yes, veil thin because this is when new life comes into the world. This is spring, time of beginnings. When Christianity came to Britain, well, Yule very easily and obviously became Christmas because it was there at the same time. It was at the same time, not because Jesus was likely born at Christmas. Scholars in theology, when they go digging around, tend to come up with an early spring date, but that motion to our Christmas date was a political one staged to appease followers of Mithras, a sun god. These sun worshippers were heavy in Constantine's army, and he wanted to keep friends with them. So, okay, why not put the dates together? Well, that putting the dates together just made things kind of work, so to speak, with various indigenous religions because of this notion of Yule or whatever it was celebrated as very much the beginning. I mean, it is. It's the return of the sun after the shortest day of the year. So it was sitting there. This made the appropriation oh so easy. And again, we have reasons for Easter that are historical as well as traditional and tie to Passover and all the rest. So it's set. Now then, these other little holidays, well, they came into the calendar, some associated with saints, some with All Souls, but then Beltane, very, very secular. And hey, how does one celebrate the spring? Fertility, planting, blooming flowers, and such as that. Gather flowers. Yes, gather flowers. So, before that arrival of the Puritans, that is, not arrival from elsewhere, but arrival in English consciousness, well, the day was celebrated pretty enthusiastically in rural England. It was neat, it was beautiful, it was a wonderful time to celebrate. Mornings, young women would go out gathering flowers and gathering white thorn branches and things like that, and weave wreaths and garlands, and hey, to put on their doors and windows. Gorgeous. The day featured dancing about the maypole. Traditionally, very much a day of courtship. Yes, yes, young lady, would you want to go forth by yourself or with your friend after flowers? Well, okay, maybe, but a lot better going out with your beau, your boyfriend who is there courting. Robert Herrick's poem, Christina's Going to Maying, is a courtship poem as a young man tries to entice a young woman to go out Maying with him. Why? Because indeed these featured quite often directly courtship. They would sit down to a picnic brunch and kiss and spoon, and the young man would propose, and if the young woman said yes, they were all set, and you might have some other things coming in terms of their get together after that. We'll leave that to Mr. Herrick if you want to look up his poem. So, poem, a celebration of fertility, marriage, all of these things. Of course, every once in a while, you would get heartbreak out of this instead of a pleasant marriage or even an unpleasant marriage, because young men, well, they aren't always honest. That's one of the unfortunate facts of life. But meantime, we're going to pretend they are, and so we talk about the May, celebrate. And so goes the May. as I said, in modern terms, not celebrated all that heavily. There were times, many of them, when it was very much the secular holiday of courtship and love, and its antecedents way before that, yes, were, oh, the celebration of spring as part of this pattern of older pagan holidays.